Being smart does not equal being rich. There's kind of this like perception that if you go through all this school and you get a good degree, maybe you get a master's degree, maybe you get a PhD, you get a doctorate, that now because you have achieved this level of credential, this smartness, that you are automatically entitled to being rich. And you see this a lot, especially in the Indian community, that when somebody gets this like high level of prestige, you just assume that you made it to the top of the world. But there's a completely different level of game when it comes to money versus credentials. Your credentials are your credentials. That does not equal your riches. Your wealth comes from your financial education. These are two separate verticals. Can they influence one another? Sure. But are they directly correlated? No. You could be a millionaire with just a high school degree. You could be a millionaire with a middle school degree. You could be a millionaire with a PhD. You could have credentials. You could be a PhD and broke. You could be a PhD and be a millionaire. It does not guarantee any sort of success. And so when you see people walking around with their nose stuck up in the air saying, oh, I'm a PhD, I'm a doctor, I'm a whatever, and so I should be rich, I'm entitled to these things, I'm entitled to all this stuff, it's all fake. And this is where now you got to understand that if you really want to become financially rich, that means you got to stop with the status. You got to stop worrying about the credentials. You got to stop worrying about all this fluffy stuff. And you got to start worrying about the numbers, the math, the finances. And that's where the real wealth is built. And that means even though you have all the education, all the formal education, maybe you got to start over with the financial education. And this can be very hard for somebody. Even if you're making a lot of money, you got the good credentials, you got the good degrees, if now you have to kind of start over and start learning about what is budgeting, what is saving, what is investing, what is an asset, what is cash flow, how do you put your money to work, how do you create a financial system that works for you. These things can be very difficult if you feel like it's kind of below you, but this is where what I want you to understand is being smart does not equal being rich. You could be dumb and become very rich, and you can be very smart and be very broke. And this is where now you got to remember there's a financial education that you want to be investing your time and even some of your money into. That way you can learn now how you can build this wealth financially, even beyond just what your credentials are. The second mindset shift that you need to make is you got to want to be the best and succeed at what you do. There's always different perceptions on this. Like think of two people, they go to work. One person is going just to get the paycheck. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to do the bare minimum so I don't get fired, and I'm just going to get my paycheck. That way I can leave and go home and do whatever I want to do. The other person says, you know what, maybe I don't like my job, maybe I like my job, but I'm going to come and I'm going to do my best. I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to make sure I succeed because it has my name on it. Who do you think is going to get the next pay raise? Who do you think is going to get the better job offer next? See, that mindset that you go into, whether it's your job, whether it's your business, whether it's your career, whether it's your hobby, whatever it might be, that mindset you go in with is going to start creating these stepping stones. Because the way you do that one thing is the way you do pretty much everything in life. If you just go in to work and you're just trying to get by, just trying to get through it, well, now if you want to start a business because you hate this job life, you hate this stuff, well, what passion and determination are you going to have there? Because now you're going to say the same thing. I shouldn't have to work this hard. I shouldn't have to commit. I shouldn't have to put in this effort. Everybody else is getting it so easily. I don't want to have to just kind of commit my life to this. Is more to life than working. I should be having the nice things and enjoying my life. But now if you come in with the mindset of, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to succeed. I'm going to see my company succeed. You're going to be the one that's getting the new opportunities. You're going to be the one that's seeing the opportunities because you're the one that's putting in the hustle. And when those opportunities arise, the person who's going to get the opportunities is the one who's been putting in the work. And so this has unfortunately become a much more cultural trend where people just don't want to put in the work because they want to just get by. But if you really want to succeed, you got to be willing to put in the work. And I don't care if you're working for somebody else, if you're working for yourself, that hustle is going to dictate how you see the next 5 years and the next 10 years. And if you're coming in wanting to succeed, wanting to be the best, you're going to see a very different trajectory than somebody else who's just wanting to get by. Maybe today you might not see a difference, but compare each other after 5 years, after 10 years, it'll be a completely different game because you wanted to come in and be the best and somebody else didn't. Number 3 is putting in the work. So I spent the last 40 or so days in Europe. This was my first real experience seeing Europe. The only other times I've seen Europe was either in a layover because I was going to India and we stopped for a few hours somewhere in Europe, or a little bit earlier this year I spoke in Estonia, but I was only there for like 70 hours. So I never really got to see Europe or anything then. The last 40 days I was in Europe, and it was a very eye-opening experience because there's a lot of similarities, but also big differences between European countries, the European economy, European businesses, European entrepreneurs, and the United States. Now, I know there's a lot of countries in Europe, and I'm kind of generalizing here, but the very interesting thing, because I met a lot of podcasters, met a lot of entrepreneurs, met a lot of creatives, met a lot of people doing big things out there. And the common thing that I saw in these European countries is that pretty much everybody trying to actually do big things over there wants to either A, move to the United States, or B, earn their money from the United States. If they don't want to move to the United States, they want their customers to be from the United States, they want their sponsors to be from the United States, they want their listeners to be from the United States. And that was very interesting because I was sitting there thinking that, you have these huge economies like Germany or the United Kingdom, and people would want to generate their revenue there because there's a lot of people, they're strong economies, but it's just a very different mindset and a very different game over there. And on top of that, the immigration laws in the European countries are very different than the United States. And I don't want to get political on this, but the very weird thing that I was seeing, very unique thing, was that you had a lot of immigrants trying to go into these European countries who go in with this mindset of, I'm going to do whatever it takes, I'm going to work hard to become successful, I'll put in whatever hours I need to do, but there's just no work available. I talked about this in a previous video, but I met one guy, I'm just going to talk about this guy because I talked about him before. He was from India, Punjab, where my family's from, and he left his wife, he left his 2 kids in Punjab, came to Europe for an opportunity, for a chance at a better life. And now he was in Portugal trying to make money so he could support his wife, so he could support his kids. And he's working 20 hours a day, trying to find whatever work possible. He's out and about looking for any labor job that he can find. He's struggling finding jobs because the economy is just not as strong as certain places. He's living in a room with 9 other dudes on a bunk bed, trying to send whatever money he has back home, barely has enough money to eat, and is doing whatever it takes. And this is where now I think sometimes we don't realize that how good we have it. And then when we don't realize how good we have it, sometimes we feel entitled to not having to put in certain amounts of work or having to do certain things. And this is where what I want you to remember after all this is you cannot bypass the work, especially if you did not grow up with a silver spoon in your mouth. You cannot control how much money you were given. You can't control who your parents are. You can't control where you grew up. You can't control all the things around you. But the one thing that you can control is the work that you put in. If you didn't grow up with entrepreneur parents, if you don't grow up with a financial education, if you didn't grow up learning how to start a business and you want to go out and do it, well, guess what? The way that you can compete is by putting in the work. And now, guess what? People are very scared of saying you should be working hard because it's considered toxic and whatever it's considered. But at the end of the day, somebody's going to succeed, somebody's going to fail. And if you want to be the person that succeeds, one thing that you can do to help you succeed is put in more work. If you enjoyed this short clip from my longer videos, here's another clip that I think you'll love. And while you're at it, if you're interested in learning more about how to start generating passive income, our team put together an amazing guide on how to start generating passive income for free. All you gotta do is click that button right over there. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep hustling.